You ever have one of those weeks that feels like the universe decided to spit in your coffee and then hand it back with a smile? It started like this. I was driving to work in my 2014 Accord, which still had the scratch on the driver's door from when my wife, Morgan, barely scraped the garage. The Bluetooth wasn't working again, and the AC had decided to blow hot for no reason. Real glamorous morning. I'm fiddling with the vent when I hear a soft crinkle from the glove box every time I turn. Now, I hadn't opened that compartment in weeks, mostly because I didn't need spare napkins from Chick-fil-A or a worn-out map of Yosemite. But the sound kept tapping at me like a guilt-ridden conscience. So at a red light, I popped it open. And there it was. A restaurant receipt. A long one. Folded twice and tucked between an old insurance card and a dried-up pen. It had the name of a downtown French place, La Maison Rouge, the kind of place with candles, soufflés, and bread you're not allowed to touch until someone in a bow tie says you can. I'd never been there. Not once. I'd been asking Morgan to go for months. But here's the kicker. It was dated 3 nights ago. Dinner for 2. And in tidy cursive, scribbled at the top like it was a thank you note. Thank you, Morgan. See you again soon. Diego. My first reaction? Confusion. Followed closely by something I can only describe as a slow-burning disbelief wrapped in a fuzzy blanket of dread. I wasn't jealous yet. Just curious. In the same way you'd be curious if your dog came home wearing someone else's collar. I set the receipt on the passenger seat. Read it again. Prefix. Duck confit. A bottle of red that cost more than my last oil change. 2 desserts. No kids menu. Now, I wasn't born suspicious. I'm a simple man, big on loyalty, short on drama. But something didn't sit right. Morgan doesn't even like duck. That night, I casually asked her how her Wednesday was. Oh, fine, she said, drying her hair with a towel. Worked late. Grabbed something quick with Tara after. I nodded. Tara, huh? Yeah. She tossed the towel on the bed. Why? I shrugged, smiled. No reason. I didn't mention the receipt. Not yet. Because I wasn't sure what game I was in. But I knew one thing. I'd just been handed my first clue. A breadcrumb. And if you know anything about betrayal, it never shows up with a marching band. It arrives quiet, polite, handwritten. Like a thank you note on a dinner for 2. The next morning, I took my time. Got up before Morgan, made coffee, and stared out the window like a man in a movie whose life hasn't technically fallen apart yet. But the soundtrack's already playing. She came down the stairs wearing her usual, it's just Thursday smile, kissed my cheek, and grabbed the travel mug I'd already filled for her. She smelled like coconut shampoo and the faintest trace of lies. Big meetings today? I asked. Back-to-backs, she said. I'll be dead by 5. Don't wait for dinner. She left in a blur of heels and dry shampoo. I waited 10 seconds after the door closed, then texted Tara. Now, for the record, I don't make a habit of texting my wife's friends. Tara and I had always been friendly, though. She's the kind of woman who wears sarcasm like perfume and once told me she liked me because I wasn't a walking ego in loafers. Me. Hey Tara, quick question. Did you and Morgan grab dinner Wednesday night? It took her 10 minutes to reply. I stared at that receipt the whole time like it was a puzzle I hadn't earned the right to solve. Tara. Huh. No, I was at my niece's birthday party Wednesday. Why? I sat back. Closed my eyes. Tara likes tacos and margaritas. Not duck confit. And definitely not pretending to have dinner with someone she didn't see. I debated for half a second before I texted back. Me. Just wondering. Morgan mentioned dinner with you. No big deal. No big deal. I was already lying too. That evening, I checked Morgan's phone. Not snooping. Investigating. It was on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. I didn't go for the messages. Those are too easy to delete. I went to the calendar. Wednesday. Client dinner. La Maison Rouge. Client. Sure. And I'm the Pope's golf caddy. I made a mental note. Opened a browser tab. Looked up La Maison Rouge. Then I called them. Hi. I said, trying to sound like a guy who wasn't one emotional twitch away from snapping. I was there Wednesday, and I think I left a coat. Could you check the reservation under? Morgan. A pause. Yes, I see it here. Morgan, yes. She dined with Mr. Diego Santiago. No mention of a coat, though, I'm afraid. Diego Santiago. Sounded like the name of a man who plays classical guitar, shirtless for fun. I thanked them and hung up. My heart was thudding like I'd just sprinted a mile on betrayal. She didn't lie to protect me. She lied to erase me. And now, the question wasn't whether she was hiding something. It was how deep the rabbit hole went. Saturday came, and with it, a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. Morgan said she was heading to brunch with coworkers. Her tone was breezy, like she was narrating a yogurt commercial. "You want me to drop you off?" I asked, sipping coffee. She hesitated a beat too long. "No, I'm meeting them there. Besides, you hate traffic." She smiled, kissed my forehead, left. I followed her. Now, I'm not proud of it. But pride doesn't pay dividends when you're the last to know. I stayed 3 cars behind. No music, just the soft drum roll of tires on asphalt and my heartbeat trying to escape through my ribs. She didn't head downtown. Not toward her office. Not toward any brunch place I recognized. She pulled into the parking lot of a boutique hotel. Not high-end, not seedy. Somewhere in the middle, like the lies she'd been telling. I parked across the street, behind a florist van. Waited. At 11:18 a.m., he walked out of the hotel. Black slacks. Casual button-down. Confident gait. The kind of guy who has opinions about wine and probably says things like, "palate." He looked around once, then smiled. Morgan stepped out of her car, and they hugged. The kind of hug with history in it. The kind that lingers because it means something. He kissed her temple. She laughed. They walked inside together, like they'd done it 100 times. That was the moment. Right there. The moment you go from wondering to knowing. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, watching the truth become flesh and blood and legs wrapped in expensive perfume. You think when this moment comes, you'll throw something. Smash a mirror. Yell into the void. But it's quieter than you expect. Like discovering your favorite song was actually written about someone else. When I got home, I didn't say a word. I opened my laptop. I went to our shared bank account. Downloaded every transaction from the last 6 months. I looked for La Maison Rouge. It was there. And so was a charge for the boutique hotel. Not once, but 3 times. Always the same time of day. Always Saturdays. That evening, Morgan came home flushed and glowing. Brunch ran late. Lots of catching up, she said, unzipping her boots. I nodded. Tara texted me. She froze. "Oh, yeah. Asked if we wanted to do dinner next week." Pause. "That'd be nice," she said, recovering with Olympic speed. And then she went to take a shower, probably to wash off the guilt. While the water ran, I opened the glove box again. The receipt was still there, waiting, like a signed confession. But this time, I wasn't looking at the date or the price. I was staring at the server's name. Diego. It matched the name on her calendar. And it matched something even more important. The smirk I'd seen on that man's face outside the hotel. I knew it then. Not just who he was, but what he was. Diego wasn't some mysterious fling. He was an itch she never stopped scratching. And I was the fool married to a ghost. You can learn a lot about a person by what they don't delete. That night, Morgan was asleep beside me, breathing softly like nothing in her world was burning. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling like it owed me an explanation. I'd been gathering dots. Quiet ones. Polite ones. A dinner receipt. A lie about brunch. A hotel with repeat visits. But I didn't have the line that connected them all, yet. That came from her phone. She always kept it face down, like a magician guarding a trick. At 2:14 a.m., I slid it off the nightstand. She didn't stir. I knew the passcode. She thought I didn't. That's the funny thing about trust. Once someone thinks they've got yours, they stop hiding the cracks. I opened her messages. No text from anyone named Diego. No saved number. I expected that. But I wasn't looking for obvious. I was looking for sloppy. I started with the Photos app. It wasn't what was in the album. It was what had been recently deleted. A series of images purged 3 days ago. They hadn't expired yet. She forgot to empty the trash. I opened the folder. There he was. Diego. In a selfie. Half smiling in the mirror of a hotel bathroom. Shirtless. Wet hair. Morgan's reflection visible behind him, holding the phone. No makeup. Just grinning. A grin I hadn't seen since the year we bought our house. There were more. One of their dinner plates. A bottle of wine. His hand on hers, mid-laugh. They were casual shots, but intimate. You don't take photos like that with someone you're borrowing. That was the look of a woman who belonged to someone else, and wasn't afraid of the camera. I stared at the screen until the light felt like it was burning through my retinas. Then I backed out of photos. Open notes. That's where I found it. The checklist. I don't know if she intended to write it like a plan, or if she was journaling in bullet points, but there it was. Talk to Diego about weekends away. Don't forget charger, razor, Contacts. Call Amazon ahead of time. Birthday cover story. Avoid Tara. She talks too much. Find time to talk to Logan about the future. I read that last line 3 times. Logan. Me. I was an item on a list. Wedged between reminders and lies. Talk to Logan about the future. Not our future, just the future. Like I was a problem to be managed. A calendar conflict. I put the phone back where it was. She stirred once. Rolled over. Didn't wake. The next morning, I made her pancakes. Oh wow, breakfast? She said, surprised. What's the occasion? I smiled. You've been working hard. Thought I'd take care of you. She kissed my cheek. Ate 2 bites. Told me she was running late. As she left, she paused at the door. Hey, you're amazing. You know that? I watched her walk to her car. She waved once. Backed out of the driveway. Drove off to wherever Diego was hiding. And I stood there at the kitchen window, holding a coffee mug like a man watching his house burn down in slow motion. Later that day, I printed the photos. All of them. I put them in a plain white envelope, sealed it, and slid it under her side of the mattress. I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. You don't interrupt a thief while they're still adding loot to the bag. Instead, I started making backups. Google Drive folders. USB keys. Screenshots. Timeline spreadsheets. I laid it all out like a detective in a noir film, except I didn't wear a trench coat, just a hoodie and a pair of eyes that had finally stopped pretending. I wasn't building a case for revenge. Not yet. I was building a case for clarity. Because the worst thing you can do when someone breaks your heart isn't scream or cry or burn it all down. It's not knowing why. I needed her to explain it. Not for closure. I didn't believe in that. Closure is just a polite way of asking someone to apologize with good lighting. No, I needed her to tell me how we got from wedding vows to hotel mirrors and deleted selfies. That night, we watched a movie. She snuggled into me halfway through and said, I love that you don't get mad when I fall asleep during movies. I didn't answer. She didn't notice. Because that's the truth, isn't it? When someone's already emotionally gone, you could scream their name in a thunderstorm and they'd still ask you to repeat yourself. I stared at the screen until the credits rolled. And then I knew. She thought she was ahead of the game. But the game had just changed. There's a peculiar sort of calm that settles over you once the illusion is shattered. Not rage. Not grief. Just clarity. Like finally realizing the hum you've heard for years wasn't in your head. It was a broken light fixture flickering behind the drywall. And now that you've found it, you can't not hear it. That was me. 3 days after the night I found the photos, I did something uncharacteristic. I called the hotel back. The same boutique place with the overpriced mints and beige towels. Front desk, Savannah speaking. Her voice was chipper. The type of chipper that only exists when someone's still new enough to care, or old enough to be good at faking it. Hi, Savannah, I said. I've got kind of a weird request. My wife and I had a reservation there a few weeks ago, and we accidentally left something in the room. Oh no. What day was the stay? Last Saturday, I said. Name was Morgan Bellamy. I was under the weather, so she checked in solo. There was a moment of keyboard tapping. Morgan Bellamy? Yep. Room 214. It looks like the booking was actually made by someone named Diego Santiago. I smiled without moving my face. Right? I said. That's her coworker. Booked it as a surprise. She told me. Classic Diego. Total romantic. Savannah laughed like it was the first time anyone had ever said something nice about a Diego. Well, she continued, there's nothing currently in lost and found from that room. But I can check with housekeeping. What exactly was left behind? My wedding ring, I said. Another pause. Oh no, she whispered. We'll definitely check. That's terrible. I know, I said, perfectly calm. It was one of a kind. She took my number, promised to call back, and hung up. Of course, I hadn't lost my wedding ring. I was still wearing it, more out of curiosity now than commitment. Like keeping a museum exhibit on my finger. A ring that once meant unity, now just metal wrapped around a man who'd become a placeholder. I poured myself a drink. Not out of heartbreak. I just wanted to see if I could still taste the difference between anger and planning. I could. The next day, the hotel called me back. I let it go to voicemail. Hi, Mr. Bellamy. This is Savannah from Hotel Courtyard. I spoke with our head of housekeeping and unfortunately, there's no ring in our lost and found. I also asked if anything unusual was noticed during room cleaning. They did mention a piece of women's jewelry was left behind in the bathroom, a bracelet, engraved, but it was claimed the next day by the guest. Sorry, we couldn't be more helpful. A bracelet. Morgan didn't wear bracelets. Not one she'd leave behind. Anyway, she was a minimalist. The kind of woman who could dress for a gala and still somehow fit her entire look in a clutch the size of a checkbook. So whose was it? Not important. Not really. The details were starting to blur, because now the pattern was obvious. She wasn't just cheating. She was comfortable cheating. So comfortable, in fact, that she left jewelry behind and came back to get it. She wasn't hiding. She was managing logistics. And I was the logistics she hadn't rescheduled yet. That night, I cooked dinner. Pasta. Garlic bread. Her favorite wine, which she no longer touched, apparently because of a New Year, new good resolution. She was counting carbs now. For him, I guessed. I've got something for you, I said, serving her plate. She looked up, surprised. What's the occasion? I reached under the table and handed her a small envelope. Her face went still, like I'd handed her a live grenade wrapped in ribbon. She opened it slowly. Inside was the receipt from La Maison Rouge. The original one. Her eyes flitted up to mine, then back to the paper, then to the kitchen door. I imagined she was checking for cameras, or a priest, or maybe just an escape route. I found it in the car, I said calmly. Weird, right? Especially since you told me you had dinner with Tara that night. She didn't speak. Her fingers folded the receipt into a perfect little square, like she was trying to shrink the truth into something less sharp. I lied, she said softly. It wasn't Tara. It was a client dinner. Diego Santiago. Her head jerked slightly, and I saw it. That flicker. That little flinch when someone realizes the jig is not just up. It's been over for days, and you're still dancing like the music's playing. You went through my phone. No, I said. Your phone went through me. Silence. You know, I added, pouring myself a glass of her untouched wine. The funny thing is, I could have forgiven the dinner. I could have forgiven the bracelet. The photos. The hotel. Maybe even Diego and his generic cologne. What I can't forgive is the list. That got her. She blinked. What list? Oh, come on, Morgan. You're organized. I figured it was habit. The checklist. The part where I was item number 5, right under Call La Maison, and above, Avoid Tara. I didn't yell. Didn't throw the wine glass. I just took a sip. You read my notes? She asked, voice cracking into 1,000 little gilt-tinted shards. No, Morgan. I lived them. She stood up. Logan, please. I held up my hand. This is still my home, I said. And you're going to finish your dinner. She sat back down. Fork in hand. Appetite gone. Across the table, the pasta went cold. But the war? It was just warming up. I've always said the cruelest thing about betrayal isn't the lie itself. It's the fact that you still have to show up. You still have to put on your shirt, smile at neighbors, bring gifts, and pretend that nothing in your life has been cracked wide open like an egg on hot pavement. And that's exactly what I did the following Saturday at our godson Carter's 6th birthday party. Morgan insisted we go. Said it would look weird if we skipped it. Right. Because God forbid anyone suspect something's wrong with the couple who clearly parked their affection in different zip codes. So I smiled. I loaded the car. I wrapped the gift, a box of Legos I'd actually picked out, because unlike Morgan, I still remembered what Carter was into. We arrived at the party, a sugar-coated suburban dream. Balloons. Pizza boxes stacked like a fortress. A bounce house inflated just enough to be dangerous. The parents all doing that awkward mingling dance, balancing juice boxes and pretending to care about one another's lawnmower issues. Logan. Someone called out. It was Jeff, the host and Carter's dad. He slapped me on the back like we hadn't both aged a decade since last year's party. Glad you could make it, man. Morgan, you look great, as always. She smiled. One of her new ones. The kind that never reached her eyes. We wouldn't miss it, she said. And then she kissed my cheek. I felt nothing. Well, that's not true. I felt the heat of her lipstick like a brand. Not love. Just the mark of a woman trying to keep up appearances. She walked off to join the other wives, leaving me stranded near the cooler with Jeff, who popped open a beer and offered me one. I took it. We watched the kids run around for a while. So, he said, lowering his voice, how you two doing? I took a slow sip. You ever bite into a sandwich and realize halfway through it's expired ham, but you keep chewing because you're starving and you paid for it? He blinked. We're doing great, I said with a grin. The rest of the party unfolded like a sitcom episode written by someone who hated closure. Kids screamed, balloons popped, someone's aunt stepped in dog poop. The usual chaos. Through it all, Morgan played the part of attentive wife flawlessly. She laughed at stories she wasn't listening to. She held my hand when other people were watching. She even fed me a bite of cake, a forkful of artificial frosting and condescension. I smiled back, played the part. Because sometimes, the best way to sharpen the blade is to wait for them to think you've forgotten. Later, while Morgan was inside helping clean up, I saw her phone left unattended on the patio table. Unlocked. A text had just come in. From a number labeled D. D. Miss you already. Can't stop thinking about last weekend. Can we talk later? I picked it up, deleted the message. Then I opened her camera. Took a quick selfie of me holding the phone, smiling like a man with an ace in his sleeve. Then I texted it back. Me, as Morgan. Not tonight. Husband's acting weird. I'll handle it soon. Hit send. Locked the phone. Put it right back where it was. She came out 5 minutes later, laughing with one of the other moms. Scooped up the phone without even noticing. She never saw it. But he did. That night, we drove home in silence. The kind of silence that gets comfortable in a marriage after enough lies stack up like insulation. When we got home, she went straight to the shower. Like always, I stayed downstairs and watched the baby monitor footage from our doorbell cam, something she didn't know I had linked to a backup drive. I rewatched Thursday, watched her leave in sweats and come home 3 hours later in a different shirt. I saved the footage, added it to the folder titled Asset Recovery. By Sunday, things were humming along as usual. She made avocado toast. I mowed the lawn. You'd think we were the brochure couple from Marital Bliss if you ignored the fact that we hadn't made eye contact in 36 hours. But she'd noticed something. I could tell. She was watching me now, the way I used to watch her. She was waiting for me to crack, but I didn't, because I had a plan. And it started with a burner phone I bought Monday morning from the gas station near the highway. $29. Cash. No questions asked. I copied every photo, every note, every screenshot from her phone to it, and then stashed it in my desk at work. Next, I contacted an attorney. Friendly guy. Wore vests and spoke like he'd eaten 3 divorces for breakfast. Said I was smart for gathering evidence before dropping the bomb. Said judges love paper trails. Said I'd be surprised how many people hang themselves with their own Google history. I smiled. Then I went home. Morgan was already there. She'd made pasta. Again. How was your day? She asked. Productive, I said. Yours? Oh, you know, she said, sipping her sparkling water. Emails. Meetings. Same old. She watched me closely. I twirled the spaghetti around my fork. Yeah, I said. Same old. But not for long. Because now I had the keys. The folders. The footage. And something far more dangerous than all of it. Patience. There's a kind of revenge that isn't about shouting or storming out. It's slow. Strategic. Served cold with a lawyer's signature and a process server's grin. That's the route I chose. Because Morgan didn't just cheat on me. She counted on me never having the spine to respond. She banked on the version of me that bit his tongue, stayed patient, and kept the marriage afloat with duct tape and dignity. So I let her. Until I didn't. Monday morning, I made 3 calls. One to my lawyer. One to a private investigator, just to confirm the timeline. And one to my brother, who, unbeknownst to Morgan, had left that infamous restaurant receipt in my glove box a month ago after his date night. That's right. The receipt that started all of this? It wasn't hers. It was my brother's. I'd assumed. I'd guessed. I'd followed breadcrumbs she didn't even lay, and still, somehow, I found the whole house of cards. It didn't start with a receipt. It started with a gut feeling, which is exactly how it would end. By Thursday, I had the evidence package. USB, neatly labeled. Photos, texts, phone logs, the notes file, her hotel bookings, even the doorbell footage of her leaving the house in one outfit and returning in another. I dropped it off at the attorney's office with one instruction. File it clean. No warning. Friday evening, Morgan came home humming. She had new shoes. Not for me. Not for us. Just new. For whatever version of herself Diego made her feel like. I met her at the door with an envelope. What's this? She asked, brows knitting. Just a little update, I said. She opened it. Read the first few lines. Her face went slack. You're serving me? I already did, I said. You signed for the package from the attorney this morning. You just didn't bother reading it. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I walked past her. No drama. No gloating. Just silence. The kind that says, you lost your turn to explain. But Logan, wait, this is everything? No, I said, turning. This is what happens after everything. Then I handed her the second envelope. She opened it. Inside, a single photo. The one I took, smiling, holding her phone, right before I responded to Diego. Her hands trembled. For the first time since this began, I saw panic. You texted him? I did, I said. Told him the truth. Just not all of it. He doesn't know about the lawyer, or the assets, or the financial audit I had done 3 weeks ago. Her eyes flicked upward. Oh, yeah, I nodded. That joint account? It's been monitored. The gifts you bought him? The hotel charges? All documented. My attorney called it spousal financial dissipation. Judges love that phrase. I didn't think you'd. No, you didn't, I said. You thought I'd sit here. Take it. Maybe cry into my pillow. But Morgan. I stepped closer, looked her in the eye. You underestimated the wrong husband. The house was quiet the day I left. I packed everything in silence. Labeled boxes. Booked movers. Canceled the utilities under my name. All while Morgan sat in the kitchen, staring at her phone like it owed her an escape plan. I left her the bed, the couch, the blender she liked, but not the car. That was in my name. So were most of the electronics. And the retirement account she forgot I managed. She asked once, meekly, "Where will you go?" "I'm not going anywhere," I said, tossing the last box in the truck. "You are." Her face twisted. "You can't kick me out." "I'm not. The judge will." And he did. Because I didn't just file for divorce. I filed with a motion for exclusive occupancy. My lawyer laid it all out. The cheating, the deception, the spending. She never stood a chance. By the following Monday, the papers were served again. This time with an order. She had 14 days to vacate. She cried. I didn't. I just stood there, watching the last performance of a show I'd stopped buying tickets for months ago. The last time I saw Morgan was in court. She wore black, like someone had died. And maybe, in a way, something had. Not me, though. I was alive, clean-shaven, calm, dressed in the kind of suit that says, "I'm done pretending." She didn't say much. Neither did I. But the judge did. Ruled in my favor on asset division. Penalized her for reckless spending. Gave me the house, the car, partial alimony from her. Because it turns out, infidelity backed by paper trails makes judges real generous to the betrayed party. Afterward, she caught up to me in the hall. "You really planned all this?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. I paused. Turned. "No," I said. "You did. I just finally took notes." She opened her mouth. Closed it. Took a step back. Then she reached into her purse and pulled something out. A restaurant receipt. From La Maison Rouge. Same place. New date. Dinner for one. She handed it to me. "I went back," she said. "Thought maybe it'd make me feel better." It didn't. I took the receipt. Looked at it. Folded it once, twice. Tucked it into my jacket. Then I walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. Because closure doesn't come with an apology. It comes when the person who broke you finally realizes they don't get to narrate the ending. And as for me, I'm good now. Better, even. The ink dried. The house is quiet. And the next time someone thanks me on a dinner receipt, it won't be her.